Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ plus story for today. I'm Edward Ottozelki, and let's queer up the USA view. New Pulse photo raises questions on city club accountability. A newly surfaced photo from the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando has reignited outrage and calls for investigation. The image shared by Zach Blair's of Victims First shows a refrigerator blocking an exit door from one of Pulse's kitchenette areas. Blair believes the photo should prompt new civil and criminal investigations into the city and club ownership. The tragic night of June 12, 2016, where Omar Mateen killed 49 people in the deadliest targeted attack on LGBTQ plus people in U.S. history, left survivors and families scarred. The new image confirms text messages sent by Orlando Fire Marshal Tammy Hughes shortly after the shooting, where she described the club owner blocking an exit with a Coke machine. Survivor Jose Diaz Ubiles previously recounted how he and Luis Omar Ocasio Capo were trapped in the room shown, unable to move the refrigerator to escape. Carmen, Capo's mother, believes her son could have been saved if the exit had been clear. Chris Hansen, another survivor, condemned the city's delayed release of the evidence, saying survivors and families were left in the dark about the full extent of what happened. Orlando Torres, trapped in a bathroom for hours, called it an unfortunate and illegal that blocked exits may have cost lives. Orlando State Attorney Monique Worrell has promised a fresh review to determine if additional investigations are warranted. However, Orlando City Commissioner Patty Sheehan, who once raised concerns about the club's safety, acknowledged the past investigations determined the shooter was solely responsible. The city defended withholding photos due to Florida's laws prohibiting the release of images showing victims' bodies. But Blair dismissed this justification, noting other graphic photos were previously accessible. The group, Pulse Families and Survivors for Justice, is demanding a comprehensive investigation into code violations and unpermitted renovations at Pulse. The resistance of survivors and the push for truth ensures that lessons are learned and no lives are lost in vain. This is a very sensitive subject. As we all know, the Pulse nightclub shooting, it will be 10 years next year. It's actually inspiring our course to even maybe possibly do a concert around that. And I had the fortunate to meet Brandon Wolf, who is the HRC press secretary and also a nightclub survivor from Pulse as well. There's always when you're looking at a situation like this where a tragedy has happened, you're always looking for, either what could have been done, what should have been done, who's to blame, who's not to blame. For victims, it's very important to know all the facts. Mm-hmm. As someone who has gone through a lot of tragedy himself, having that information is comforting. It's hard when you get it in spurts. You have things like, for instance, shootings of presidents, and you don't hear about certain facts until years later. And it's really aggravating for those who are personally affected by it, because, you want to have all of that. So when you see photos, and I saw the photo online with the refrigerator in front of the door, it's negligent. I mean, plain and simple, you just don't block an exit. Right. But, we just don't know all of the facts. You don't know why it was there. You don't know why the club owners put it there. And yes, it could have been an escape route. But, it's a very sensitive subject. And I want to pay respects to people that were lost that day too. And, and every voice is counted for in this. So,
I think for me, the city commissioner who had previously stated that the fault was solely on the shooter, that says a lot for me.
Sure.
Because they're going on the site, they're doing these checks and going through and seeing what could be blocking a door or what could have been, and the fact that it wasn't a raised concern back when that was noted and made public to everyone makes it a little bit harder for me to understand. However, I completely agree with you in the sense that if I was, God forbid, one of these victims, then my parents would still to this day want to know every single solitary detail that they could find out about it, regardless if it's finding something out 10 years later or if it's finding something out 10 minutes after the event occurred. So I only want us to shed light and send respect, obviously, to the Pulse victims, and it's a major tragedy. But unfortunately, this tragedy was going to happen on this night regardless. This was a targeted and very prominent and planned and thought out attack on our community. So I don't think the fridge would have changed much. That's just what I'm saying.
Well, let's just hope for the sake of all these people we've mentioned that if there are guilty parties, that they are held accountable.
That's
and
right.
I also hope that this will inspire other businesses to take a closer look at their properties to make sure there is easy access to all access.
Stay up to date on your code
Really
and all
important.
of those
There's
things.
a reason
Right.
for all of that.
That's
course,
right.
of
And
course.
you're
That's right.
seeing that here, and that's why, with stories like this, you bring it to light. It's a minor fact, but it's an important fact because you have to take that into consideration, and
Yeah, it's a tough subject,
Yeah.
and you kind of hit a point that
Yeah.
I was thinking, and that is about codes, and it's like,
Sure.
where we're at in Wilton Manors. I mean, we hear about code violations a lot.
I mean, they'll come in the middle of a show and shut you down and not apologize, know, and then you just start up again the next day, but they take it really seriously.
So it's like,
Yeah.
when was the last time the place was inspected? So it kind of makes me dig further, like, okay, when did they check out that kitchen with the refrigerator blocking the door? And did they ever, did they even notice it?
But what I find important too is like, where do we go from here? And it's kind of like, there was a I think there was at some point they were trying to raise money to bring Pulse back or, to some sort of memorial and stuff. So I'm hoping that maybe these conversations and maybe the 10th anniversary coming up too, that, maybe it will inspire a positive change from all of this.
I think the positive take from all of it is, where do we go from here, is that it's 10 years ago and we're still talking about it like it was yesterday. We're still bringing awareness to this horrible event that, in turn we learned a lot from, right? But I think more now than ever, all we can do is support our LGBTQ plus businesses. If you're going to go out for a drink or a bite, make it a gay owned business, just go that little extra mile to support your queer businesses. That's what I would say. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.